Magnus, while I'm getting this music cued, go ahead and Magnus, count back from 5 for me, just to be on the safe side.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Yeah, you're good. I figured you were good. Just wanted to make sure. All right, gentlemen, as soon as you hear that music, we are live.
Okay.
Welcome to Making More Money for You with Magnus Carter. Whether you feel that you don't have enough money to start investing or are under the preconceived notion that investing is only for the wealthy, Magnus and his expert guests are here to help you. Now here is your host, Magnus Carter.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Making More Money for You show. I'm your host, Magnus Carter. Last week, we had a good conversation about a lot of different topics that were all rolled into one. And this week is going to be no different. This week, we're going to actually go into the future a little bit. Well, actually, the future is here. We've seen it all in commercials. We've seen it in definitely as we're growing up from kids to teenagers to adults. The way the future is, we're getting deliveries is going to be automated. And I have a very special guest from Dronedek. I have the chairman and CEO, Dan O'Toole, with me today. Dan, thank you, and welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Magnus, and thanks to all your listeners. Really appreciate you guys hearing the Dronedek story. Thanks.
Oh, absolutely. So, as I alluded to a little bit before, we're going to be delivering the future to you today, and it's no different. This company is actually starting out by making the necessary plans and preparations to do so. But before we get into that, Dan, can you give us a little bit of backstory about you and how Dronedek actually came to be?
Yeah, thanks, man. A little bit about me. I'm 58 years old. I've got 4 children. I've been married 34 years. I've always been an entrepreneur throughout my whole career. And I always say, by the time you thought about it, I did it. I really think that success and opportunity are all bred by moving fast. And so I've had a few ideas over the years, and some of them I didn't move as fast on. And one thing I learned kind of the hard way was when one person has an idea, 10 people have that same idea at the same time, and it really becomes a race of execution. And if you're not first, you're last. And there was one time I had an idea for a brand new remote control, and Sony had just beat me by a month on that. Then another time I had an idea for a medical device, and of all things, General Motors had beaten me by like 3 months. So when I had the idea for the next generation mailbox back in 2014, I knew that I was into a race of execution, and I literally ran to the patent office, got my attorney, and said, I don't even want to do a patent search. I don't want to do a provisional. I just want to file a utility patent today. Literally in a week I filed, and it turns out I beat Amazon by 9 days, beat the Postal Service by 2 weeks, and others by just less than a month. So I was right.
Wow, that's impressive. You very rarely hear that you've actually beat out the government, you beat out Amazon, and you beat out like 3 other competitors that are major, that have major stake in this game. So what made you actually think about this as an idea? How did this type of idea come to you?
I'm always trying to, press the limits. I'm always kind of thinking outside the box. Why does it have to be this way? Why can't it be that way? And back in 2014, really drone delivery was, kind of a sparkle in the eye of Jeff Bezos. Amazon was thinking about it and others. And, I started thinking about the end part of it. I kind of cut to the end of the line. I thought, yeah, that's all well and good that, you're going to have all these autonomous deliveries, but where's this stuff going to end up? Where's it going to start? Where's it going to end? And while people were thinking about the drone aspect of it and the robotic aspect and the unmanned driverless vehicle part, I was thinking about how are we going to house all this stuff? How are we going to make it safe? And what's that going to look like? And that's when I had the idea for Dronedek.
Okay. That's very impressive for starting out a company like this. Well, as drones became more popular, I know the FCC, the FAA had a lot of regulations and a lot of concerns about this, because we're talking about flying in open areas here, and that could actually, hurt people. The frequencies that they need will also interfere because into things that are already working. How did you when you thought about this, were those any thoughts that you had when you were thinking about the future of this?
Obviously, we have a vested interest in the success of autonomy, and but the other side of it, Magnus, is we are not the drone; we're the drone deck, and I just want to distinguish that to everybody.
Mhm.
We're essentially the next generation mailbox. We stand tall, rain, shine, day or night, and we are consolidating all delivery to one secure point to include robotic delivery, unmanned driverless vehicle delivery, aerial drone delivery, conventional delivery, and we've even built the U.S. mailbox right into the drone deck. So we know that there's only going to be one drone deck in somebody's yard, not a Google drone deck, and Amazon, and a postal service. So it's very important to be platform agnostic and welcoming to all those different shippers and deliverers.
Well, we actually see that now happening, because a lot of those companies that we just mentioned, the FedEx, the UPS, DHL, all those companies are still, they're like combining, because one, they can't handle the load of delivering anything, and two, it's, don't they have contracts with each other in case they can't make the deliveries that they're contracted to do?
Absolutely, there's overlap. The postal service fulfills for FedEx, vice versa, all those kind of things. There is, to your point, there's a huge stress on last mile logistics. You've just got a perfect storm. You had coronavirus. People are socially distancing. People are working remotely. You have a labor shortage. You have rising gas prices, congestion on roads. So how do you bridge that gap? How do you fulfill all those items in a rising trajectory of the last mile logistics? The only way you can do that is through autonomy. So, always the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. The cost of drone and autonomous delivery is less than half of conventional delivery. You don't have to make reships, redeliveries, those things. Every day there's 1.6 million packages stolen in the U.S. How do you disrupt that? Through safety and security. That's where we come in, taking vehicles off the road, working to be carbon neutral by 2050, bridging the labor gap. Last year in Fort Wayne, Indiana, UPS today, I'll say this today, a mid-market city in Indiana, Fort Wayne, Indiana, UPS will deliver to 8,000 more locations in that city today than they did in that same city a year ago. So if you extrapolate that across every carrier across the whole country, you can just see the big demand and stress on last mile logistics. And I think that's why the time for Dronedek is right now.
What a growing market like that, what it actually does seem it's the perfect time. What makes you so certain that this time is better than the last time when you first did this, when you first thought about this?
Well, the first premise I always use is, I always say, if you come up with a futuristic idea and people don't think you're crazy, you're too late, right?
Mhm.
So I had that going for me. People thought I was crazy. So, it's a paradigm shift, getting people used to an idea, accepting, and then having the market catch up around you. It's one thing to have a bunch of drone deck units out there, but you need all the accompanying infrastructure to make it work, right? If you just set out a bunch of drone decks and nobody was utilizing them, it wouldn't really be anything. So we're waiting for the market to accelerate and catch up to us, and I think we're in a great position to mutually launch when the market green lights. We've got the FAA recently allowed night flight by drones, overflight of people by drones, and they've also granted exemptions for beyond visual line of sight flights with certain exemptions in specific use cases. But this is all kind of a harbinger of what's to come, and the relaxation of these rules and things that are going to really open up the market on a wide scale.
With scaling like that, are there going to be additional warehouses that Dronedek is going to be part of, or are they going to be operating out of the carriers now that that Dronedek's going to be a little part of? It's like, hey, this is your pickup point, and then take the package. Can you give us like a brief tutorial of how Dronedek is actually slated to work?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me give you a quick roadmap of our product roadmap and how we roll out. First question we always get is, how much is a drone deck? And the answer to that is, you cannot buy a drone deck. You can only subscribe to it. very similar to an Amazon Prime model. We know that a big impediment to wholesale adaptation would be if people had to spend a lot of money to buy them. You'd never get that saturation. So we defeat that. On a residential side, a user will pay about $15 a month and gets them their Dronedek and the app. On a commercial side, it starts at 100 and goes up. Got three sizes on the commercial side. We've got the residential unit size. Then we also have a high density urban area or multifamily cluster box unit, which is several pigeonholes, if you will, with an internal sorting process. So multiple people can access the same unit. And then we also have a portable unit in our roadmap that would disrupt the trades industries. You could put it on a tank, an RV, a camper, a boat, a commercial vehicle, perhaps on a rooftop of an embassy. There's all these kind of things that we're thinking about and how Dronedek is going to be set to take advantage of conditions wherever they are.
Wow. Okay. As you alluded, these how big are these Dronedek boxes?
The standard residential unit is 41 inches tall and about 22 inches squared. And the reason we're at that height, that accommodates the U.S. mail. That's built to the parameters of the U.S. Postal Service. And it's a good size. The average item delivered is 5 pounds or less. So it allows for a nice cargo profile to accommodate several different packages. Heated and cooled cargo area, opening up delivery of food, beverage, pharmaceuticals, cannabis, all these kind of things.
So I have a crazy thought since you brought about that. Can you see Dronedek actually being the next delivery system of food? Like the next instead of a pizza delivery guy, will just order it up, boom, it's here by drone, it's sitting in your box.
Absolutely. Labor and fuel are the two most expensive components of any delivery, and then you've got liability and all the other things that come with that. So if you factor those things out, you're speeding up delivery time, you're lowering costs, you're increasing freshness, heated cargo area, all those kind of things, social distancing included, all the things. The coronavirus really changed the world. I mean, even people that were reluctant to embracing technology now find themselves ordering DoorDash or Uber Eats or their groceries online. These are all things that had to happen, and they did happen. And so it just really opens up the door and makes us more familiar to be able to have these kind of things happen.
Okay, that's a great outlook for the future, because we are seeing that why go to McDonald's when I can have McDonald's come to me? And that's what a lot of people are, that's what reality is right now. And with that, and you said this is a subscription based item. How, I know that you're still kind of working out the details for that, but what does that actually entail for a user like my listeners out here, our listeners that are listening to this right now? What does that entail them to do, and how do they go about doing this when it's time?
Sure. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to strategically roll out into markets that meet several metrics that make them optimal for deployment of a Dronedek, and things would include like an accepting and willing municipality, a demographically rich user base, and then accompanying delivery infrastructure. Could be robotic, unmanned driverless vehicle, conventional aerial drones, all those things. When those things converge, that equals a market where Dronedek wants to be and where our highest probability of success is. But the things that you're going to get from using a Dronedek, it's not just a shipping and receiving box. It's going to become a fabric of your society, and the same stickiness that you get with an iPhone, we see that with Dronedek. And I'll give you some examples. Heated and cooled cargo area, right? So now you can we have a reverse logistics mode. Returns in the U.S. are a $1 trillion market. If you want to return something right now, you might take it to Kohl's and drop it off to go back to Amazon or something like that. With Dronedek, you hit your return icon on your Dronedek app. It populates your last 12 purchases. You select the item you want to send back. It alerts Amazon. You drop that item into your Dronedek. It dispatches UPS. It gets picked up seamlessly. You don't have to print a label. You don't have to go anywhere. It gets picked up, goes back. You get your credit. You don't have to find a receipt. Those are the kind of things, the conveniences that we just don't have right now. If you want to favorite items, have recurring orders that can happen. You're on your way home, your pizza gets there and it's staying warm for you. You get home and grab it. All these kind of things. That's what we're bringing to the table. Notifications. When something arrives, it alerts you what you received. It tells you what it is. If you're waiting for that, that gift or whatever that you can't wait, it shows up and you're like, hey, I got my new earpods or whatever it is. We have a UV disinfectant process. We can disinfect for coronavirus, for example. When the coronavirus first came out, people didn't want to bring Amazon packages into their homes because of the threat of coronavirus, right? So we defeat that. Just every unit has a charging station built into it. The biggest impediment to autonomous delivery is actually battery life. So we defeat that because we create a limitless range for drone delivery and all kinds of autonomous delivery. And the cool thing about that is you have an opportunity as the user to actually monetize your drone deck. So if an Amazon drone were to land on your drone deck, Magnus, you're paying that electric bill. So we're going to debit Amazon, we're going to credit you, and then we're going to take a small transactional fee for that too. But there's a point where you could be revenue neutral, where it wouldn't cost you anything to have a drone deck, and there's actually a point where you can actually make money by having your drone deck. We've put together a deal with the Helium Network, Nova Labs. So people have helium miners out there, and they're monetizing that. We've been identified by those guys as a great houser of the helium technology. We're street side, great connectivity. We open up a big proposition to be able to harvest a lot of revenue off of that and really negate what you're paying for your drone deck. So it could be actually a way to make money and get all these conveniences at the same time.
Oh, wow. I can't. This definitely sounds way good to be true. We've talked about quite a bit of things already, Dan, and it's already almost break time. Can you believe that? We've been talking now for quite some time about Dronedek and how this your vision is actually going to be part of our reality. And with that is we're going to take a quick break with that because we've talked about the inception of Dronedek, what Dronedek will do for us, the future of Dronedek, how it's going to integrate into our lives, and it sounds like it's the next evolution. Honestly, it's going to be our next step because we're already at that point. So thank you everybody for listening at the moment. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back more with Dan O'Toole from Dronedek, and we'll catch you after the break.
You are clear.
Wow.
You got me, man.
See, I told you it goes by fast.
It does, doesn't it?
Extremely fast, and there's so much that I wasn't expecting any of that. That was not in my prep pack, and I love it.
Okay, great, man. Well, yeah, we've got a lot of surprises, man. It's really a big platform. There's so much to it, you can't even believe it.
Only imagine that. I can't wait to learn more about it and see how to test this and see what your testing comes back as.
Yeah, well, facial recognition for people and pets, traffic counting, shot spotter, live streaming video. We can set up an activity alert around your drone deck, say from midnight to 6 a.m. And if somebody messes around your drone deck, it can trigger all your house lights to turn on as a deterrent. So there's just the sky is the limit. There's really no limit to what we could do. I always say there's more we haven't thought about than we have thought about, because just this little opportunity to be the gateway to every home and business with great connectivity. A lot of things have yet to be thought of, right?
Oh, I agree. I completely agree. And we're going to be coming back in a couple of seconds. I can't wait to get more into this more.
Sure.
Because I definitely want to have you back on after you go.
About 10 seconds, gentlemen.
Okay. We'll talk more about that afterwards because we're going to be here.
You're listening to Making More Money for You with Magnus Carter. If you have any questions for Magnus or his guests, join us on the show at 866-472-5789. That's 866-472-5789. Now back to the show. Here is Magnus Carter.
Hey everyone, I am Magnus Carter. You are still listening to the Making More Money for You show on the Business Channel on Voice America. It's been a ridiculously informational show so far with my guest Dan O'Toole of Dronedek. We've talked about what Dronedek is, what it's going to be doing, and we just covered the tip of the iceberg of what the foresight for this product is. Dan, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks, man. Thanks. Really appreciate it.
Over the break, we were talking about a couple of the new features that haven't been explored yet, but have great potential. But before the break, we talked about application integration. Apps are everywhere. Apps are everything we do anymore. Websites, it is part of our daily life. How does the Dronedek app, how is that going to be able to integrate into everywhere that you're going to be able to use it?
Well, we're building our own API, which is our own proprietary system. We have the ability to authenticate delivery, make sure it's the right drone, delivering to the right drone deck. Once that's validated, I guess, we would open up, accept the cargo, and then resecure. So that's what we're doing. But in addition to that, we're doing electronic handoffs in multiple ways. One is, as I mentioned earlier, about the reverse logistics and things like that. But imagine ordering prescription drugs from CVS and us allowing CVS to turn on the cooling in your drone deck, or Domino's Pizza allowing Domino's to turn on the heating. Then we're archiving all that transactional history. You can favorite those items. You can have recurring purchases. We're just really simplifying everything. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time.
And that's going to save a lot of headaches, especially with the non-technical folks or very limited with technology, especially with people that have cell phones or tablets or whatnot. I know you said about the Apple iPhone and the Apple infrastructure. Are you still going to have this for the Androids for the rest of us out there?
Absolutely. No, I mentioned Apple because, one of the things that happened, was that Apple changed the privacy on the iOS, and then Facebook took a big hit on that. And, we control our own data, and that's how we're able to offer, your return logistics and all that. Okay. So I mentioned it simply for that. But no, we're going to be all inclusive. We want everybody to, we are platform agnostic. We're welcoming to all shippers and deliverers. We know that's how we give the greatest user experience into that, just following suit on that. We want to make sure that we allow Android, Apple, and really everybody else too.
Okay. I just want, that's a question, because I know certain applications, certain discoveries, and certain inventions, they lean towards one house and not the other house, and they're losing out on that. And I want the listeners to know it's like, hey, it's everybody out there that's going to benefit from this, not just the people that drink the one Kool-Aid over the other color.
Absolutely. We want everybody to be a part of it. There's strength in numbers, and by aligning everybody together, that's where the real value lies for everyone.
That's wonderful. That's fantastic news. Now, with a network like this, you're going to have to hire a lot of people. So how is the staffing of Dronedek going to be able to support all this?
We've got a really robust business plan. We're executing on it right now. We're in, month 6 of year 2 of our 8-year business plan. And, it's just like, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right?
Right.
And, we're building out what we really believe is the largest market opportunity in the world today. But that doesn't mean we can't do it. It's a big undertaking. We're developing in multiple lanes, but that's what you have to do. We've got a world-class team, and we continue to add to that team with industry-centric folks with great experience from some of the largest companies in the world, FedEx, Postal Service, others, the NFL, major law firms. We've just got a great team, and every day we're making it happen. And that's probably the thing I'm most proud of, frankly.
Yeah, that's a huge it's a massive undertaking, to put it lightly, of what you're doing. Uh, so the versatility and the staffing on this, it's going to propel you to do this. Is there a market that you foresee this doing extremely well in, for your that you're going to want to test out first, instead of everything all at once?
Yep, absolutely. I will say that blanketing and saturating areas to get economy of scale is always preferential, right? So as we roll out, we just really want to saturate area and blanket areas. But to your point, we see the medical industry as the first mover in the space. It's a great use case, lightweight, time critical, high value items, samples, vaccines, blood, all those kind of things, and those are the ones that are evolving first. And we're involving ourselves in several opportunities right now on the medical front. So I think that's going to be really exciting to see how that plays out, and I think that'll domino into the rest of the markets as those happen.
Now, with you working, especially in this field, I know there's a lot of laws and regulations and whatnot. Who are you? What entities are you working with to make sure that you comply with everything that's out there, and you're not missing anything?
We've got a strong legal team, first of all, and we always vet opportunities internally first. We're also working with municipalities where they're allowing this to happen. And a lot of times they take the lead as to how they want things done, where, when, and within what regulations. And then we usually have a vendor partner involved that's actually doing the delivery part, and they do much of the heavy lifting because frankly that's where much of the liability lies in that aspect. I always say, we're essentially the next generation smart mailbox. We stand tall, rain, shine, day or night. If you can get it to us, we can accept it, whether that's autonomously or conventionally. So I think we're in a good spot. The first mailbox was invented in 1858, and there was a need in 1858 because they were putting packages and letters on the ground. And so now fast forward to 2022, this is the first time the mailbox has been disrupted in all those years. And so, just as they had a need back then for securing those items, now today more than ever, we've got, food, beverage, pharmaceuticals, cannabis, high value items that you just can't leave outside. I always say if you have a whole industry of autonomy, you're going to have a whole industry of autonomous theft because you need to secure these items, and that's where we come in. We see Dronedek as the funnel to the last mile, that little point of real estate where every delivery will start and end. That's Dronedek.
Okay. Now, I know we've have the units out there. Is there like a part of the business plan of actually having stores like how FedEx has the Kinkos? They bought Kinkos over to have like an all-in-one shop stop that you can just go in and just in case.
Sure. No, we see Dronedeks being ubiquitous, really everywhere. Not only in residential and commercial settings, but much like that. I mean, it could be at your pharmacy, it could be at the Kinkos, it could be at a restaurant, a post office could have Dronedeks in front. It's going to be it's the new mailbox essentially. So if you just substitute a Dronedek for everywhere that you see a mailbox, whether it's a commercial or a residential unit, that's the trajectory that we're on right now.
That's amazing. That is completely amazing. Now, I do see, when I got your information and I was reading over this, how important is it for you to be recognized by the Nasdaq in your situation of a small company like this that came up with a huge um, plan, if you will?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you're alluding to the picture of us
Mhm.
on the Nasdaq. Yeah,
Right.
thank you. Yeah, honestly, just got to tell a quick story. I mean,
Sure.
just out of the blue, I got a call from the Nasdaq, and they said, "Hey, this is the Nasdaq. We want to let you know that we're always scouting the next big thing, and we've identified Dronedek as that next big thing, and we know that when you go public, you have a choice." It could be the London, Ontario, New York, Nasdaq. We want you to choose the Nasdaq, and it was a really humbling call, really amazing. And at the end of the call, They offered to put Dronedek up on the iconic Nasdaq tower in Times Square and give us a kind of a shout out message. And they offered that. And we're based out of Lawrence, Indiana, which is an exceptional community, very welcoming to us and embracing. So I wanted to figure out if there was a message that we could craft that would include Lawrence, Indiana. And so we were able to come up with one. I didn't tell Lawrence, Indiana about it because I figure that you're always a 12% favorite for something to happen. And I didn't want to get anybody's hopes up, right? So we did this, and NASDAQ had it run on a recurring basis for a weekend. And that was so exciting. I've never seen that done before for a privately held small company like we are right now. I think that just speaks to the traction and acceptance that we're getting in the market. But they actually shot that picture. I don't know if you'll be able to show that or not. And I actually, when that happened, I was able to get that to the city of Lawrence, and the mayor's state of the city address was coming up, and he included that. And he said, "Hey, guys, I got to share this with you. This is the first time Lawrence, Indiana's ever been on the NASDAQ." So I was really proud, not only that we were able to be there, but we were able to include them. And, that's kind of a testimonial to how we operate and the sharing aspect of, we want to include everybody.
That is true entrepreneurship right there, especially taking care of your hometown and making sure that, it's not just it's you and your company, but it's all about the people that are working with your company and working to build this company up as it is. So with that, are you constantly getting bombarded with partnerships or collaborations to start working on this?
Yeah, every day is an exciting new day, Magnus. I mean, you never know what to expect. I mean, when I came up with this idea in 2014, like I said, everybody thought I was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward to now, I'm literally talking to people all over the world every week. The name Dronedek is known throughout the world. And we go to trade shows and we meet the biggest companies in the world. And we have emerged as the branded leader in this space. And just to have that experience to get where we are right now, words can't even begin to describe the pride and just excitement that we've generated by within our team with what we've built so far. And we're just beginning, as you know.
Yeah, from reading all of the information that was sent over about Dronedek and what I found out online, you're still in your infant stages yet. You've got a lot of ground to cover, and you've covered quite a bit of ground already in such a short amount of time, especially from 2014. And we had pretty much 2 years where nothing was happening. So you have accomplished quite a bit in that. And where do you actually see Dronedek in the future? We are planning the future right now, and
Absolutely.
every day is another step forward.
No, you're right, man. No, I see a vision of streets lined on both sides with Dronedeks everywhere you go. And when you look something up online now, you Google it, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you grab a soft drink, it's a Coke. When you blow your nose, it's a Kleenex. That's your Dronedek. And I think we fit very well into that fabric. And I just think it's going to be commonplace. It's the Jetsons right now, but it's going to be your everyday. And I think that the way that people are going to come to rely on all the conveniences that you're going to have with your Dronedek are just, it's going to be like, how did we ever get by without this?
Well, you brought up a great topic to go into, is how is this going to benefit the listeners out there by actually subscribing to this? I know we've touched a couple of different things, but can we go into more detail of the benefits of a Dronedek?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want things faster, that's Dronedek. If you want things cheaper, that's Dronedek. If you want things fresher, that's Dronedek. If you want to know what you received, that's Dronedek. If you want to return something, that's Dronedek. If you want to make your house safer, I think I told you at the break, you could set a proximity alert on your Dronedek for, say, a time window of midnight to 6 a.m. And if you have any activity around your Dronedek, we can trigger your home house lights to turn on as a deterrent. You can offer traffic counting to your municipality and monetize that. We can micro weather. If you want a customized weather report every day at your mailbox, your Dronedek, we can furnish that to you. facial recognition. If there's an Amber Alert in your area, we can seek people going by your drone deck and identify both people and pets. There's actually technology out that can identify your specific pet. So if your dog goes missing, we can help you find your pet. The list really goes on and on, kind of as I alluded to earlier. If you want to send a signal to somebody driving by your house that, hey, stop in real quick, you can put pink lights on your drone deck, right? It could be anything. These are the things that we're thinking about every day. How can we make this thing bigger and brighter every single day? And there's some off the wall stuff, but I see a lot of it finding its way into the fabric of your life.
That's impressive. Technology is a giant part of our lives right now, and we're always waiting. We're never satisfied with the waiting that we're doing. And with that being said, we need faster internet speed. We want faster deliveries. I'm definitely one for checking my phone. It's like, where's my package at? It was supposed to be here at this time, and the guy's late. It's just we become so reliant on technology to tell us, hey, we're gonna have this at this time, and when we don't get it at that time that it was expected to be here, we have those issues and we get upset about it. And from what you're telling us, that Dronedek is actually going to be able to take care of that, and be more reliable on it as well. But we have to take another break then. We've already went through the second part of the show, and we talked about a lot of the ins and outs of Dronedek, where it's going to be going, a lot of the key features of Dronedek and how it's actually going to help people, and why you would want to subscribe to this and be part of this infrastructure that's it's going to be global from what you're talking about, especially with the people that you're talking to. But we're going to take a short break. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. This is Magnus Carter with my special guest Dan O'Toole, the CEO of Dronedek, and we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come right back.
You are clear.
Cool.
Thanks, man. That's awesome. Time flies, doesn't it?
It's been flying. I'm like looking at it, I'm like, another break. I'm like, wait a second. Normally you have one break. I'm like, but okay, 2 breaks today. Okay, we can change this up.
I'm so sorry about that, Magnus. I apologize. We got so many shows. I got
No, Josh, Ed's good. I kind of like it. It's definitely keeping me on my toes. I like it.
Sorry about that, buddy.
Nah, we're all good. So anything that we missed that you want to talk about in the last part of this?
Well, I can talk about how I funded how I funded it and where that progression, what that looks like, and then where we're going, possibly, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense, and we'll close out with your information to get in contact with you about learning more, or where we can follow.
Yeah, that's great, man. I appreciate that.
Sure thing. Okay. No, I'm just looking at your website. It's very well done.
Thank you. We have a great team, man. That's what it's about, right?
Exactly. If you enjoy who you're working with, the rest just falls into place.
And if you think you know everything, that's when you know you really don't, right?
That too. It's time to find another room to go walk into.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's okay.
All right, Jim, we're coming back in about 15 seconds.
Okay.
You're listening to Making More Money for You with Magnus Carter. If you have any questions for Magnus or his guests, join us on the show at 866-472-5789. That's 866-472-5789. Now back to the show. Here is Magnus Carter.
Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the Making More Money for You show. I'm your host, Magnus Carter. I am with the CEO, Dan O'Toole from Dronedek. If you missed the first two sections of the show, I'm telling you, you're missing a lot of information, and you're going to miss the bus on technology as it's already starting to come into existence. So, Dan, welcome back to the show once again, and I want to talk. We talked quite a bit about your business, the business plan, how the workings of it, how this product and this the service is going to actually help a lot of the users and customers and to try out. But how did Dronedek come to be? How did you start the company?
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. I'd love to share the journey. I had the idea in 2014, and by nature of just being an entrepreneur, pretty much my whole career, I've always had this belief that your equity in your company is your capital of development. And by that, I mean you essentially exchange equity or shares in your company for working capital to develop your product. So I've always believed that if you take the short money, you do a disservice to everybody that you took a dime from, your family, your friends, yourself, your company. So for the first 6.5 years, I didn't take one dime from anybody. I developed 100% myself. I put about $750,000 in. For all my intellectual property, several iterations of prototyping, trade shows, marketing, insurance, just everything that you do. And at the end of the day, about 2 years ago, I was kind of laboring. I was like, man, I could sure use some help. I had 25 engineers working every day in India and all those things. And just in that moment, one of my really good friends came to me and he goes, hey, man, Dronedek. I said, what about it? He goes, I want in. I said, well, Dave, his name's Dave Schwind. I'll give him a little shout out. I said, well, Dave, for the last 6.5 years, I haven't asked one person to put one dime in. He goes, I know. I said, I'm not soliciting you. He goes, I'm soliciting you. And to me, that was just a very humbling, really gratifying moment. It really told me that people had been watching what I had been doing, and what I had been doing had now become investable in the eyes of others. So that was a lot of pride. So he became my very first investor. He put $200,000 in at a $58 million valuation. Soon after that, a small VC firm out of Zionsville, Indiana, Center Point Capital, put $200,000 in at a $92 million valuation. And then we commenced a crowdfunding campaign, equity crowdfunding on wefunder.com. We started out at a $123 million valuation. And we, at that point, the most you could raise was $1,070,000. We quickly oversubscribed that. And in the middle of the raise, the laws changed to be able to allow you to go up to $5 million. We were able to raise $3.5 million because our raise was running out. We earned the designation of being the highest valuation pre-revenue company to ever successfully crowdfund in the history of crowdfunding. So that's a big statement, and we're really proud of that. I think that really puts us in rare air, and it kind of sets the expectation as to how the market has received us. So that raise concluded on August 31st of last year at a valuation of $223 million. So we've iterated over the summer, and now we're into the summer of this year. So we're getting ready to do another capital raise on this will be on startengine.com. We'll do equity crowdfunding. We're getting ready to kick that off July 18th or thereabouts, and we're going to be raising at a $330 million valuation, and we're going out to raise $5 million. We've had several opportunities to explore going public on the Nasdaq, but I would say that there's a lot of market turbulence right now, as we all know, and it's probably not a good time to navigate into the vortex, if you will. I don't want to put any shareholders at risk or anything like that. So we're going out to raise interim capital through Start Engine right now, and then I think we're going to readdress that. We have a lot of opportunities. I had 2 Nasdaq calls just today, So we've got a lot of great opportunities that are very exciting. And the thing I'm most happy about is everybody that invested in Dronedek came of their own free will and at the exact amount they wanted to. So we've got a community of about 5,000 investors at this point. Everybody's like-minded. We're all rowing in unison. And, I love my community. One of the cool things that we've been able to do, Magnus, is we started an initiative called From Within. So we know who every one of our shareholders are, where they are, and what they do. And so if Dronedek has an opportunity, we seek these opportunities out with our investor community first, and it's our way of giving back. So I could just say it's definitely a we the people story, and my biggest day will be when something big happens for this company, and I'm in that room with all my 5,000 investors, and we're all high fiving, and I have this vision where somebody's saying I told you, and I'm saying no, I told you, and we're all just celebrating that moment, and that's what it's really about. I could have cashed out several times for millions of dollars myself, but this is about everybody that put one dime in and took that risk with me, and I don't ever want to leave any of those guys behind.
Now that's an American story right there. Starting out on your own, you've seen the value in it, but once other people start seeing the value in what you're doing, you're doing something right. And when I have honestly had the opportunity to feel like that as well, but quite a few times throughout my career, my journeys. So for you to actually have that and actually have that mindset that you're going to keep moving instead of selling out, that says a lot about how Dronedek is actually working for the people to make their lives better. And that's, from your story, that's what I get out of it. I am very glad you were able to share that story on the show with us. It's, you don't hear those corporation, the company stories at all. You just hear it's like, oh, okay, I bought this company, I made $250 million out of it, and then I sold it again.
Hey, to your point, one of the cool things that I'm really proud of that we did along the way when we had our first prototype show up, we were in the process. We had a couple thousand investors at that point, and so we came up with we said, hey, we didn't want to leave anyone out. So for the first 3,000 investors, we've got this plaque that we commissioned. It's the We the People. It's got an inscription about who we are and what we're doing. Every single one of those investors and their designees, we allowed everybody in their family, as many people as they wanted, to sign this, and we came up with this beautiful inscripted metal plaque that is affixed to our Dronedek unit number 1, and that forever will be preserved in our headquarters. I see that maybe being in the Smithsonian someday. First drone delivery right to a receptacle Dronedek, and everybody's got a lot of pride around that, and that was something that we were able to do. I mean, we had people that passed away from cancer, and we have their name on there, and really important milestones with families, and we're really proud that we were able to aggregate all that together and keep that as something that we'll always have.
That's impressive, and I did see that. That's actually on your website as well.
It
When I
is.
was looking about that on the About Us companies page, it's there on dronedek.com. And when I was looking at and researching the company and whatnot, that stood out because you're taking all these people with you that believe and want to see this happen. Your collaborators, your investors, friends, family. That's very important.
It's everything, man. I'd say they're taking me with them. I mean, I wouldn't be here without them. And I don't care if you put $1 in or $1 million, whatever that number is, in ratio, that number is important to everybody. And I'm never going to be the judge of that. I celebrate everybody, and I can tell you our team does. We just have so much mutual love and what we're doing here, and the passion that we get back from everybody that invested $1. You can't even describe it.
Oh no, especially when it's happening this fast and you're growing rapidly. Your collaborations are, that from what you're telling us from the brief time that we had here, that it's only going up from here. Do you foresee anything that could possibly at all, boost this or make this go any faster?
You know, I would say this: there's always things that could derail you, and there's always things that could accelerate you, right? And you have to acknowledge every one of those things. I would say that I don't think we could actually be in a better position relative to where the market is right now than where we are. We've got great intellectual property. We've got a strong investor community. We're poised to do our next raise. We've got all kinds of acknowledgement from some of the largest companies in the country, the largest municipalities, Nasdaq. I wouldn't trade where we are. I think we're ahead or right on track with every metric that we track, and I'm just very pleased about everything. Our team, even being on here with you today, Magnus, this is another barometer of how we're doing. So I want to thank you and your listeners.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's been nothing but great information for everybody out there. And I'm glad my listeners here on the show can be the first ones that you're talking to about your company and your vision. I'm very thankful to have that for you. I do have one question. Do you enjoy what you're doing?
I say that, I said I'm 58 years old earlier, and I got to tell you, I've never worked harder in my entire life, but I've never had more fun. And, to be on the journey of a lifetime, and all of our investors are on that journey with me, and I know they know that, to be able to, be featured on the NASDAQ, to have shows like this, to be talking to the NASDAQ, two NASDAQ companies just today, to talk to, some of the largest companies in the world. I mean, every day is just a new adventure that you never would have thought about in your earlier career. So I can't even, maybe I'll write a book like you did someday. I try to take great notes and try to document, video or whatever, all the things that we do, because someday we want to have the movie, the Dronedek
You're
movie,
right.
how we got here. And I think we're well on our way. It's a journey of a lifetime, man.
That's wonderful. I'm glad to be part of it as you're part of the show. It's time for closing remarks. And, how do we learn about the journey? How can we follow the journey of Drone Deck and see the progress that it's actually happening? And how do we follow you if we have questions about this? How do we
Hey,
get in
man.
contact?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. One of the things I always do, I give my phone number. I've had my same number for 30 years, and I give it out to everybody. And I welcome, good, bad, and ugly. I deal with everything head on. My cell phone is 317-694-7520. I always say if I have the audacity to ask you to invest in my company, I should have the audacity to be on the other end of the phone if you have a question or a comment, right? So that's one. Dan at dronedek.com, Dan like Daniel, and Dronedek, DRONEDEK.com is my email. You can go to dronedek.com. You can Google us. You can go to all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. We're pretty much everywhere. And, look for us on Start Engine starting around July 18th. We'd love to have you join our investor community. So appreciate the opportunity to share all that with you.
Dan, thank you for an excellent show. Thank you for the great content that you provided. And definitely the show title fits this. You're delivering everything to our front door. You're, you're delivering the future to our front door. And with that, we covered everything from the start of the company to, where you see the company going. And I'm very thankful to be part of that. But that wraps it up for this show, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Next week, I am going to have a special show. I'm actually going to be a solo show. I'm going to talk about some of the crypto scams and flaws out there, and tune in definitely next week, because you're not going to want to miss this, because this has some life expectancies that you wouldn't expect someone to have, and it's going to be chock full of information and facts. So thank you for tuning in this week. This is Magnus Carter signing off for the day, and go and try to do something fun today, something you enjoy doing that you haven't done in a while. So have a good day, guys.
All right, you're clear.
Thank you much.